Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another process video, and I want to use this Maya Road die cut that I got here a month or so ago. And the only idea I had for this layout was that I wanted to cut these out and make a title about heartstrings. So, and do some stitching on that heart. So I pulled out this My Story by My Mind's Eye, and I really loved the pink colors in this with all the black as well. And because my photo is black and white, it was that way when I got it. I got it off the internet. It was one that my son-in-law took, and he made it black and white before he put it up there. So that worked out perfect. And for some reason, I had the Bella Rouge, a couple pieces of Bella Rouge in here. I must have only had those pieces and thought it went well with the My Mind's Eye collection, so I must have just thrown it in there. But I wind up going with just the My Story collection. And my background is going to be just a piece of watercolor paper, and then I'm going to use all these colored papers to cut out my hearts. So I wanted one in yellow and one in pink, although I was worried about cutting that arrow paper because it's so beautiful, but I would probably never use that arrow paper as one whole sheet, so I decided to just go ahead and cut into it. And you saw there those string hearts. It was like, how weird is that when I'm thinking about doing something about heartstrings and then that paper was in there? It was funny. So anyhow, these are the three colors that I'm going to use. And yeah, so I'm just going to die cut out a few of these little hearts. And I'm here in my craft room. It's been snowy. I've been stuck. This is the fourth day I've been stuck in my house without being able to get out of our neighborhood with my vehicle. And so I'm going a little stir crazy, and it's freezing. It's only like with the furnace going, we only can get it up to like 64 degrees. It's like, ah. So anyhow, so I'm trying to distract myself by doing a little crafting. And so I go ahead and cut this out, and I love these little brush tools. I don't know if you guys have one, but they actually work. I love it. And so I just use those three pieces of paper to cut out my three different hearts. And there they are. And I'm thinking about, positioning them, and these would be like my three cluster areas for my visual triangle. But when I wind up putting my embellishments on there, I don't want to put them over the hearts, and so I wind up putting them kind of next to the hearts, and then I wind up getting more than three clusters, and then it kind of turns into a cluster something. And yeah, so I guess it just goes to show you don't have to have a visual triangle or just three clusters of embellishments. At least I don't think I did in this layout. I kind of just was having fun and went with what looked right, and I think it turned out good in the end. So I pulled out some different Shimmers products and some gelatos, and this is the No Yoking, and it's a little brighter. Both the Shimmers products are a little brighter than the colors in my background paper, but they were the only colors that I have. So I went with those, and then I tried to tone them down a little bit with the gelatos. But I think it still works because there's a range of different reds to pinks in that collection. So yeah, I don't think it clashes, but I take this kind of peachy color of gelato and put it in there, and that kind of helps tone down that pink a little bit. I did a test of it, and now I'm putting a little more on just to help or thinking that I'm going to tone that down a little bit. Not sure it does anything, but yeah, it still looks fine. So that is how I'm going to kind of position everything, but I saw that there was no color peeking out on the upper left hand side of the photo, so I'm just going to do a little bit more. And this pink gelato actually matches the collection a little better. I wish I would have used it for the whole background, but it still worked out okay. Now I'm going to put a little more of the gelato's yellow to tone down that other yellow. And that's going to be pretty much it for my background color. I take it to my sewing machine and I do these stitches, And I just go through some of the lines on the heart and then let the lines kind of travel out across the layout till they're about an inch or so from the edge. And I do about 2 lines per heart, and just try to get them to intersect and kind of come back towards my photo. And I really like how that looks. And it just adds some texture to that, large white open area. Now I had these 2 scraps left over from the last time I used this collection. So I'm just cutting out, fussy cutting some of these flowers out of the paper, trying to make sure I get some of the gold and some of that darker pinky red color and some of the black leaves. And I just kind of put some at the top and bottom of my photo just to kind of soften that down a little bit and to pull all those colors together. Like I said, I'm trying not to cover up the hearts too much, or all of my stitching, because that's kind of going to go with my, title. And so I pull out some butterflies. I've got that darker butterfly that's up there now, which is what I wind up going with. And then I have a chipboard butterfly over there on the right, but its colors were just a little bit too soft for up there. I wanted something a little more dominant to kind of balance out the photo and the title. So I just pull out a bunch of things I think might work. I like this tab because it brings in that nice golden color there, and it kind of bookends that side of the photo. And some of these others I just cut out so that I can kind of test them and see what I like. So I like the flowers and I like the tab, and so I just kind of pull everything off to the side. At first I think about putting a heart at the end of each of those little stitching lines, but that was just kind of too cluttery looking. And then I try some of these different word ones, and I thought, you know what, I better pull out and do my thread underneath before I get too far along. So I just pull out some pink and some yellow thread, and I kind of suck at doing this whole thread thing. Missy Whidden makes it look so easy, but I make mine into a tangled mess, and I get it caught on things and it gets pulled out, and yeah, so I struggle with thread a little bit, but I'm going to keep persevering, and you got to do it a while to get good at it, right? So I'm just using some of my Scotch Quick Dry to kind of get this all laid down, and there I'm like redoing my thread tangle there. And I'm letting that leaf kind of stick out a little bit on the right, and I know it sticks over the edge, but that watercolor paper is 11.5 by 11.5, so I am going to mount it on a 12 by 12, so there will be a border that'll kind of overlap into. So I've got the thread down. I'm going to go ahead and put that tab in there because I liked that punch of color over there on that side. And then before I get to putting too many more things down, I figure I better work on my title, because that's going to be a pretty big part of this, because it's a little bit longer title for me, and then it's going to be in black, so that's going to be pretty dominating. So I use 2 thickers. I use one word thicker that I just use a heart out of, and then I use another one that I use all the letters out of, and I'll show them here in a second. I'm just pulling those out. And yeah, I use the heart out of that one, and these ones I use for my actual letters. And I just make it "You tug at heartstrings." And I would have put my heartstrings, but really she tugs at everybody's heartstrings that sees her. So I'm just kind of looking at where I want to position it. And I go ahead and put the "You tug" right across the bottom of that one heart to kind of incorporate that all in, so that they're touching. And then I want to put the heart and at kind of up between those two descenders of the Y and the G. So I kind of center them in there, and then I take the T and I kind of make it so it pops up between the at and the heart. And that just kind of tightens that whole title block together. It makes it so that it doesn't get too big and dominating, and makes it easy to read. And I really like how that looks. So for this butterfly, I'm going to put it up here for a punch of that, darker reddish pink. I'm going to put a little bit of dimensional adhesive underneath each wing, and then a little bit of glue in the center. And that dimensional adhesive will just kind of keep his wings up a tiny bit, even when it's in the page protector. They won't collapse flat. And he's just kind of at the end of one of the heartstrings. And then I cut one of these hearts out of this string of hearts. I had that one pink one there that's right by the tab at the moment, but it just seemed a little bit big, so I went with the smaller one. And that just brings something overlapping the top of my photo, because at this point I don't have anything over the top of the photo. Everything's underneath, and I want to pull some stuff on top. I think about using that flower there, but it was just a little bit too much, and then I accidentally pulled out my thread and have to poke it back under. So I'm looking for something that can kind of go over the photo down there, and so I go with these word stickers, and I really love them. They, of course, I've already used that tab on the right hand side of my photo, so this font of course matches exactly because they're all from the same collection, so that works out perfect. And that just helps incorporate my photo a little bit, having something on top of and below. So I love that, and I love that nothing's covering up her little foot, because I thought about putting that larger thing there, but yeah, I wanted to make sure you could see her little toes. And then I had these old buttons from Fifth and Frolic sitting on my desk, and this finally uses them up. I was so excited to use up these old buttons. So that was cool. And it just brings a little bit more texture and dimension to the layout. So I'm liking all of that. And then I also pulled out this Wonder Collection, just looking for a few more things. And there was a little bird on there that I really liked. It had the right colors. So I'm just looking for a place to put him, and I put him over there too. And then I wanted something to put kind of at the bottom of my title to just kind of bring a little bit of color down over there. But I didn't want anything too big. I didn't want another cluster, of embellishments. I thought that would just be too much, but I wanted something. And the chipboard butterfly was too big, so I thought I'd cut out just one of these small ones and fussy cut it out of some of the paper. And that'll just bring a touch of that darker pink down there at the bottom of the title. So I'm just using a little bit of glue on the body of the butterfly, and then I'm going to let his wing kind of rest on the bottom of the G, and that'll kind of help hold that wing up. And then I'm using this Shimmer's black color that you have to add some water to. So I'm just adding a little bit of water and some sprinkles, although the water kind of soaks in and I can't get very many drops, so I have to add a little bit of more water to it here in a second. Just trying not to make a big mess. And so I like that. Just a few little sprinkles on there. And then this paper was gutted from a previous layout I had done, and I had left that in there. And so I was thinking of using it. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the floral side to bring in color, or maybe this one to bring in color, but I eventually just go with the black and white on the other side. So I'm glad I gutted and saved that. I'm just going to use my tape runner. And then this will also, help flatten it out if there was any warping. There was a little bit of warping when I put the water and stuff on the watercolor paper, but not too much because it was watercolor paper. I'm just going to put that down. I have to be really careful because my black sprinkles are not fully dry yet. And then that is my finished layout. And I love how it turned out. I love the stitching through the hearts. I love the colors. And I love, even though it doesn't really have a visual triangle, I still love how it turned out. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment down below and I will see you again next time. Bye.